Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Phil. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Phil, come on up. I can't believe. Nice to meet you. It's so great to meet you. Jeez, I cannot believe you're Dr. Phil.
The great Joel McHale, everybody. Keep it going for Joel McHale. That's a guy who is successful because he's failed.
These character comics, I don't get it.
Well, we'll take a break and we'll see if you do get it, Mark.
You guys fired up? Let's go. Phil.
Guest of the year!
But all these Phil theater tours is what we're doing now, like theater shows.
Wow.
We're going to do the ACL Live here next year and Majestic and Celebrity Theater in Arizona.
You have to pay him?
No. Where's my Phil? Are you still cool with this cam? Right here? Hey, Doc.
I don't think I like your f***ing attitude.
At this point, Adam Ray's impression of Dr. Phil has more than taken on a life of its own. From making celebrity guest appearances on mainstream programming like the NFL Network, to being enshrined in the Kill Tony Hall of Fame, and even releasing his own special on Netflix, it's safe to say Dr. Phil has changed Adam's life forever.
Starting in the garage to now we're in this beautiful theater. It's come a long way. Did you ever expect it to be this big?
No. Fuck no. Yeah, dude, I really thought, you know, people are jonesing for a daytime talk show host spoof.
As most comedy fans already know, Adam Ray has a deep bag of voices and impressions, ranging from real celebrities like Joe Biden to made-up characters like Jeremy and Elaine.
I don't do impressions, but you get the gist.
The crazy success of the Dr. Phil character, and specifically the live show, is something we haven't witnessed in the stand-up comedy world since Andrew Silverstein started to tour as Dice Clay. But what's even crazier about the Dr. Phil phenomenon is that it all started in a garage out of pure boredom.
Right before COVID, I just kind of hit a point where I was like, really, for lack of a better word, bored with just what I was doing. It was just a monotonous schedule of like stand-up podcast, auditioning for things I wasn't getting, and all, you know, fine and dandy, and getting to a place to support yourself, to have the time to try to tackle those opportunities is what anybody wants. But I just was feeling stale and just like not motivated. Like it just wasn't, I needed something else. And I really tried to harken back to like when I was happiest. And it was like 2006 when myself and these twins, James and Dave Cadiglia, who shoot all the Phil's shows now at the Comedy Store and a bunch on the road and did the Netflix special, we would do all these sketches. And, you know, they came from the special effects world. So doing comedy videos was a kind of a new thing for them. So we'd shoot sketches from 9 to 6, and then I'd pay them in dinners and coffees, and we'd get dinner till 8, and then edit from 8 until 3 in the morning, and then post it the next morning. And it was just such a fun, collaborative, building something from the ground up time that I was like, I got to get back to doing something like that, and then just get some joy back into this. So I put some money into a pilot that I wanted to make. If I could make my own show, playing 3 different characters, you know, Eddie Murphy, Nutty Professor style, and it was kind of a dysfunctional family pilot. It's on my YouTube called Jeremy Rising. It was fun. It was collaborative. It was like I kind of, you know, put the whole thing together. It was directing it, producing it, and it was, you know, pretty much Curb improvising every scene. We just kind of beated it out. My hairstylist character was kind of in a fat suit, bald mustache, and my friend halfway through filming goes, "You look like Dr. Phil." And I kind of been doing a loose Dr. Phil like on Adam Carolla's show every now and then. And so then I said, fuck it, let's go to the Laugh Factory and, you know, get a little more content with the makeup. So I did a set as Dr. Phil. Joel McHale brought me up. And, you know, it was kind of the first time I did it. So like the voice was really high, like really cartoony, and because I hadn't really done it in character. And so I felt, yeah, it was just the early stages of trying to do the voice. And then COVID hits and now all this downtime. So I was like, all right, let me try to fuck around again to try to, you know, build something out of nothing. And Jen Aspinall, who does a lot of the Dr. Phil makeup, who, you know, makeup gangster from SNL, Mad TV, Pam and Tommy, she won Emmys for all sorts of stuff. And so Jeremiah Watkins and I would do a bunch of lost episodes of Dr. Phil with a bunch of his characters and post 2 hours of improv into a 40-minute video. And that was kind of how I got to hone whatever version of Phil has become, which was like, you know, abrasive, but like likable. And it was just a lot of exploratory discovery with whatever version of him that I was going to be. And then when COVID kind of concluded, was never real, and we kind of got, yeah, it was. And so I got the Kirkland vaccine from Costco. And so then we got back to a place where we could get going, and I was like, you know what, I always want to do a live show. Will Ferrell's George Bush show on Broadway was always something that got me fired up to do that. And then Oh Hello with Mulaney and Nick Kroll was like really like, all right, I have to figure something out. So like anything, you know, you have an idea, and then I think most creative people can attest to this. Like you find reasons to talk yourself out of doing it, whether it's, I knew I wanted to do it at the Comedy Store in the main room, kind of an intimate but bigger space. And then I'm like, oh man, all the people, employees and peers are gonna be watching, and what if it bombs? And I just finally had to, like, you know, kick myself in the dick and go, all right, like that's the reason to do it, because you're scared. Like anything worth getting good at, you gotta just get over any sort of stage fright or outside extraneous doubts of like, you know, who cares if it bombs, it bombs. Like, you know, you don't get better when you crush all the time. So Tom Selleck said that. And so Burr did the first one, and he was like, dude, let's go. Let's make fun of my anger issues. So that really got me fired up, because he was pumped to do it. And I didn't know what the show looked like. I was like, I'll do a monologue, I'll do some crowd work, and then we'll interview. And then it went really well. So then it was the thing of like, all right, I want to try that again and try to improve on some things. And that's the best part of the show is, like Tonight's Show, we have an outline for the guests, and I have games and a few things that are set, but the whole show is unscripted. Everything that's going to happen on stage hasn't happened before and won't happen again. And that's really like an exciting element to the show. And I think what people dig about it, why people come to multiple shows and people from flying all over to come see it. And it's fun for the guests too, because it is something different. It's not, you know, I try to say when I'm pitching it to them, like, it's not a podcast, but it's not like I'm still I'm doing a character, but it's still grounded, and it's not so silly that, but I always say, like, I have the wheel, but you can take it at any time. Yeah, that's kind of the origin story.
That's a great origin story.
Fuck. That's going to be like a 12-second clip. You're going to be like, so how did Phil start? I'm going to go, well, and then you're just going to cut back to going, great, thanks, Adam.
Similar to what makes Dr. Phil a great guest on Kill Tony, part of what makes the live events so special is that every single performance is unscripted and unrepeatable. So hypothetically, you could go to all the stops on tour and see a completely different show each night. However, the one thing that would remain a constant no matter what is the secret weapon and true wild card of Dr. Phil Live, Jeremiah Watkins, who plays a new character every episode and truly acts as the D-Wade to Adam Ray's LeBron on stage, keeping both him and the other guest on their toes while consistently delivering some of the most chaotic live moments for the audience watching at home.
Let's start with a timeline. When did you first meet Adam Ray, and then when did you get involved in these shows?
Adam and I go way back just in the comedy scene. We became friends just through kind of open mics in the Comedy Store, and he is what I'd say, like, timeline wise, he's like a class above me as far as like when we started and stuff like that. And he was one of those guys who I always admired. I loved his work ethic. I'm a guy who is a grinder and always trying to do as much as I can and wear as many hats as I can as possible. I loved what he was doing, and I think that he liked what I was doing in different things, and we ended up getting booked at a lot of the same festivals. We like Moon Tower, we were here every year. We were like a couple of comics that like kept getting booked, and we kept doing the same shows and just had a bunch of mutual friends. And then we realized that we had really fun comedic chemistry anytime we did each other's podcasts and stuff. And during COVID was when we started experimenting with the Dr. Phil stuff. It was in my garage, my podcast Jeremiah Wonders. We did like these lost Dr. Phil episodes, and Adam would have the time to really explore with one of my characters that was bringing a problem with him, and really it was a long therapy session, and it was like this cut, like wonky, like Adult Swim, like what's going on, like a lot of visual effects and sound effects and camera edits and different stuff like that, kind of the studio version, like the premature version of before what it grew into with Dr. Phil Live. And he started doing like Dr. Phil Live like at the Comedy Store, and a little bit before that he started doing the character like at the Laugh Factory, I think, and some other places live. We were trying to figure out, hey, like this is a great opportunity for me to explore and go deeper in my characters. You get to go deeper with Dr. Phil. Like it was a great symbiotic relationship. And then he did the live show at the Comedy Store with Bill Burr for the first one, and we were talking about it. Well, he's like, dude, you got to come out as one of your characters like we did in the garage, you know? Yeah. So I came out as like one of my angsty teen characters, Darwin, and Bill Burr was like, what is going on? And it's a fun moment that I got to share with him. He's like, why is this guy looking at me right now? Yeah. Like, why is he looking at me like that? Like, it's funny to me, like sometimes people will sit through an hour and a half of talking with Adam Ray's Dr. Phil, but when my character comes out, they're like, now this is too much. Like, this guy's freaking me out. Like comics, you'll literally see like the energy shift where they're like, I don't know what to do with another one of these. So then Adam and I are just like ping ponging back and forth, like, all right, you take this one, I'll take that one.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I think I've seen some people be like, is there anyone I can just talk to right now?
Yeah. They're like, is there a real person on stage that I can talk to?
That's really funny. So when do you, during the week or leading up to these shows, do you have full creative control of like, hey, I'm going to come out as a Pop-Tart or something? Or how do you guys come up with that?
No, it's that's what's kind of fun about it. It's definitely a collaborative process where we're kind of pitching ideas to each other. Now, there's certain cities where it makes sense for like, hey, I've got this idea. I think it'd be a really good fit for this. Like we did, for example, we were in Dallas recently, and I pitched George W. Bush. I'd done the character years ago in Kill Tony. I was like, hey, I haven't brought it back in years, but it was a Kill Tony favorite from back in the day, and I think it would do well again. Mm-hmm. And Bobby Lee was on the show, and it was just like George W. Bush with Bobby Lee. Like, why not? That's like a fun pairing. And then sometimes Adam will be like, hey, I need you to do this in this city. The only time he's said this to me, he goes, I have a character for you, and this one's non-negotiable. I was like, bro, what's going on? What's happening? And he goes, I need you to be the pie from American Pie because Jason Biggs is on the show. And I go, yeah, I'm on board. You didn't even have to preface it with that. Like, let's go. Let's make this happen. So that was his brainchild on that one. I got to give him complete credit on that. But it's usually like a back and forth text or calls, like where it's a collaborative process, and best idea wins. And then I try to have elements where I always surprise him a bit, so he has genuine reactions on stage with the improv and everything. Yeah. So we might have even like the idea and the bullet points of what to hit and what's our out. But in between, he trusts me enough and I trust him enough to kind of be like, hey, you got the reins right now? Okay, let's awesome. Serve it back and forth. Yeah.
So one of the things that's different about every show is Jeremiah Watkins. Mm-hmm. How important is he to the show, and how did you first realize, oh, this is the perfect person to be kind of like...
Yeah, totally. We did all those like lost episodes, so it just felt natural to like include, keep the core of how it started, like again in putting the show together, which is so fun to like each episode producing like whatever the bits are going to be in the games, and then working out with Jeremiah because he basically does a different character every show and comes on at the end for about 15-20 minutes, and then every show ends with me beating up whatever character he is and then giving kind of like a final spotlight, soft ballad music, final thought, did you have a good time, good night. But he's just always down to be fearless. And it's fun to have constants. Like there's now like in the show like a handful of catchphrases I'll say. There's always a moment where after the guest will go off on a long tangent, or there'll be an awkward moment that I'll throw, depending on when it fits, like have you seen Oppenheimer? Is that kind of a way to cut through and contrast the moment, or you're gonna make my mustache fall off, or I don't like your fucking attitude, or doing a we'll be right back, or so having we'll keep it right here, yeah. Having like a few catchphrases to always go back to. People dig that. So Jeremiah as a constant just felt like a fun thing to have, and another fun thing that people look forward to, right? Because they know that he is in every show, and who's he going to be is kind of a fun reveal. And another fun thing for me, we try to beat out as much as we can his chunk, but there's still so much like in most of the show that is I'm going to see for the first time, and then and that's just fun.
Is there ever a character that you guys thought was going to smash and kind of fell flat, or vice versa, one that you were like, I guess, and then everyone loved?
There was one that it was the least explanation we've given each other. He's like, we should work on this one character. We did a sketch years ago. Oh, it's called What Can I Get You? And it was about this old sailor type character, like this deep sea fisherman that you would see like in a horror movie, who comes in at the bar and orders a drink, and he goes, I want that character to come out and claim to be Kumail Nanjiani's dad. And that was it. That was the whole premise I was working with, and it was just like a busy week where the both of us like didn't contact each other very much before the show. And I was like, are we still doing this bit tonight? And he's like, oh yeah. So I went out there, and you'll see like on his face and my face and Kumail's. Kumail, it literally feels like he's being punked the whole time. He's like, what is happening, dude? And he's genuinely freaked out because I soaked myself with water to act like I was actually stepping off a ship afterwards. He's like, he's wet. He's dripping on me. This is disgusting.
That's so funny.
So that was one that like people ended up liking, but I think for maybe the wrong reasons because Kumail's freaked out.
I was going to ask, was that what part of the answer was that? The good one or the bad
one? Kumail ended up I talked with the parking lot after. He's like, hey man, that was very funny. He's like, it was weird, but it was very funny.
That's very funny. So you are, like you said before, a man that wears many different hats when you're literally with the characters or just in your own life, stand up on the spot, the Dr. Phil live show, and obviously your own just stand up and the podcast we saw tonight, so many different things. How do you find the time to do it all? And are you ever like, dang, like I have my own sets tonight, but I haven't worked out this character completely, and now I'm anxious that I'm gonna like, this is a big show. Like as Dr. Phil show grows, is that almost like shoot, I got a lot going on, and you get the question.
Yeah. I think it's a great problem to have, and one thing that I have been good at, and I hope to continue to be good at, is I'm a good compartmentalist, where I can take comedy day by day and life day by day and, pour water in those buckets that need more attention. And sometimes that bucket is just personal and family stuff where I'm like, I gotta, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I gotta dedicate more of my life and today to family. And then other days it's like, okay, it's Dr. Phil Live. Next day it's a stand up on the spot. Hopefully the goal is for everything to slowly rise together. And, I'm just doing my best and trying not to spread myself too thin. That's always the goal.
That makes sense. I completely forgot about family when I was listing all of those other things. I was like, that's true too.
Yeah.
We actually had the chance to attend the Dr. Phil live show at Bass Concert Hall during this year's Moon Tower Comedy Festival, which real quick, shout out to Moon Tower, an amazing comedy festival that happens every single year in Austin that is over a week of nonstop comedy and live podcasting. There's always some really good shows at this festival every single year, and unbiasedly, I can honestly say that Dr. Phil Live was one of the best of 2025. Obviously, the product that ends up on YouTube is always entertaining, but there's just an extra level of excitement that comes from being in the building and wondering who's gonna come on stage next since you haven't already read their name in the title of the video, or thrilling moments like seeing Dr. Phil heading your direction while he goes through the audience. One thing that definitely stood out being there live is just how many hats Adam Ray is wearing at once, not counting the bald cap, as he's truly quarterbacking the live experience for everyone on stage in the moment. I guess this might all be pretty obvious stuff, but Dr. Phil Live is not stand-up and it's not a podcast. In fact, the best way to describe it would probably just be a straight-up exciting and funny experience all around that takes a lot of different talents to pull off.
It's a accumulation of all these skills I've been honing over the last 20 years, which is like the stand-up stuff up top where I do a little monologue, the crowd work that I've been doing in my stand-up or man on the street stuff, and then the interview part is podcasting for the last 20 years, getting decent at like listening and being able to, be quick on your feet. And then also to host a show and also the producing aspect of I'm out there for 2.5 hours and trying to be present as possible, but then also real cognizant of like the show flow and like when to end an interview and when to cut to the game and when to, go a little extra because we're going to Chappelle's camp in a couple weeks to do a Dr. Phil and it's with Dave, and like that's like I'm gonna not want to stop that at all. Like, but you have to still find those beats and just be real aware of like when to move things along, when to cut a joke short, not to step on a joke, but also maintain control because every guest is different too. Most people are all down to play and really silly, and even Mark Maron, who is on an episode that comes out on April 24th. It's Mark Maron, Jimmy O. Yang, Johnny Knoxville, and Teddy Swims from the Comedy Store. Just a banger episode, and Maron was like more trepidatious than most, but like was such a gangster in the episode, was so down to clown and really participatory. And so I think it's fun for people to do something that is a little different, and I kind of pride myself on the fact that it is for everybody. Like even people watching the show, it's like, and I think that's why we've been able to hold on to a little bit of a fan base because people are like, oh, I know not only the guests are different, but the whole show is going to be different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What started as two friends wearing makeup in a garage has now grown into thousands of fans all across the country, not only watching Dr. Phil content online, but also coming out to live shows in flocks. From their normal shows at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles to performing at big theaters like this one in Austin, and even the upcoming gig at Dave Chappelle's Club in Yellow Springs, the uniqueness of each individual show gets elevated even more by the specific size and shape of every different venue they play.
So tomorrow, Dr. Phil Live will be in a theater. You guys do it at the Comedy Store, obviously, and all around. What is the difference between doing it in these different venues? Do you have a preference, or is it just all different and good in different ways?
I think that all of the venues that we do have been exciting for different reasons, and I've just been trying to soak them in and be grateful because this is so crazy. This is my first time doing doing venues like this. So each venue is cool for different reasons. Not necessarily I like one more than the other, but sometimes just for me, selfishly, certain venues are better for my characters based on what kind of character I'm being. Like one that worked out well was in San Francisco. I played Steve Jobs' long lost son, and we had a giant screen bigger than a lot of venues, and we did an Apple demonstration of new apps and products. So that worked out perfect for me for that venue. I was like, oh, we couldn't have got a better venue for that character specifically. So they're all fun for different reasons.
Do you ever get nervous while you're improv? You do so many different characters, improvs, all this stuff, and you really are a trusting guy that's going to go with any joke. Do you ever get nervous that your counterpart is going to take it too far, maybe either physically, or you're just like, I know that I'm a professional, but I really hope that the other person I'm working with doesn't screw this up?
Luckily, Adam is one of the best improvisers out there. So he, as far as like a partner goes on stage, I have full faith that he's gonna have my back, and I think that he feels the same. I think that's why like we work well off each other. The element that definitely throws a wrench in that is when we use outside forces. We use this one guy that was a Craigslist hire in Vegas, and it was an Elvis performer. What was wild about this is I told him what the bit was, and he's like, got it, you know, like he's ready. He goes out there, he doesn't do the Elvis impression. He's talking like you and I are right now, and I'm like, bro, what is going on? And I'm still trying to stay in character. Shanks, I'm like, yeah, you gonna do the Elvis thing, or like what are we doing, dog? Like, and like I kept trying to like, in improv, it's called pimping somebody into doing something. Dude, I tried to set him up properly so many times, and my favorite moment of the set, because that was one where I was like, this didn't go how I wanted to. I didn't go as well as I wanted to, because Shanks is one of my favorite characters. And I go, I've never bombed this hard by association before.
I have never bombed this hard by association in my entire life.
Because people lumped us together. They're like, man, Shanks brought his buddy Elvis. Like it was like we were doing the bit together, and I kept looking at Adam like, we hired an insane person to do this bit with us tonight.
That is so funny. Yeah, also, that's a good prank to be like, yeah, I'm an Elvis impersonator. Then just be like, dude, what's up, dude? What do you want me to do?
Out of the 1,000 things that I was like ready to improvise with, I was not ready to improvise with somebody that's like, hey, what's up? Like, I was like, wow, this is a great prank on me.
There's no question that the Dr. Phil live shows and the character impression as a whole has launched Adam Ray to all new heights in terms of mainstream success and popularity over the last few years. But the butterfly effect it's had on the comedy world goes even deeper than that. Because while all the attention has been on Phil, Adam Ray has continued to be extremely generous in lifting up fellow comics while the baton's been in his hand. Not only inviting his peers to be guests on the live shows, but also putting on the full makeup for hour-long podcast appearances to help his friends get numbers too.
Guess what them white boys have figured out a thing to do? They figured out a way to make each other rich.
Yes.
They make each other stars.
And although the mustache will always be in Adam's bag of impressions, Dr. Phil Live is not something that he plans to do forever.
How much fun people are having and leaving, getting like a really cool show experience is like so important to me. But you know, we're gonna stop doing this in August and then on to the next thing, you know, TV shows and maybe another character show. But like, I definitely want this to be like, you know, my buddy Albert over here who's taping a documentary on the whole tour, you know, we'll have a nice like moment in time, but like, I definitely want this to be something I look back on in 5 years or anybody and goes, oh, remember when he did that Dr. Phil thing? And have it not be a fart in the wind, but like something, just, you know, one piece of the puzzle, you know? If I was 3 years in, you probably would have never seen Adam Ray again because I would have been just like, this is who I am now because it's working, you know? But this happened out of nowhere, and because I was, you know, throwing a dart against the wall, which is all we should be doing, it's just like trying shit. And I might do another character show and that could fall flat on its face, but like that's what's fun about the whole, like, at least for me, putting something like this together is the not knowing, and then getting to have people be into it is really cool.
That makes a lot of sense, and you're so into it that's fun for us to watch. So
totally, I appreciate that. If you're having fun, man, people pick up on that, and I really do get jacked up for these shows because I know, I mean, just even today, just getting all these messages of people being like, I've been looking forward to this for months. A couple that came up from Delaware that is, you know, just to come to the show. I don't know if anybody lived in Delaware. I live there. Come on, we all live there. We all lived there once, and so. having. By the way, I want the viewers to know that I'm doing that for this just because this is a comedy, channel, and I'm like, oh, maybe they've seen the Biden. I want it to be clear that I do not have like schizophrenia and go into. I was doing it last night to Tony at the mothership, and I was like, dude, I want you to know it's only because when I'm around comedy people that know that I've done it that I jump into it. I'm not like at home or talking to my mom and like doing like I appreciate and respect how wild Robin Williams was with in and out of voices, but
that's really funny. I never considered that.
By the way, definitely doesn't believe me. Did you hear that nervous laugh? Yeah, no, you seem really normal, man.
Guest spots from last week. The Joe Rogan Experience sat down with Hal Puthoff, Jose Andres, and Cameron Haynes. Tommy Pope and Antonio Brown were on Kill Tony. Matt and Shane had on Nate Marshall. James McCann sat on the couch with Soder. Story Wars was a battle between Yakov Smirnoff, Ellie King, and Jared Freed. Yakov also stopped by Whiskey Ginger. Two Bears One Cave was Tom and Mr. Ballin. Jordan Jensen took her shoes off. Maddie Smith visited Stavi's World. Dave Attell was on Jim Norton Can't Save You. Brad Williams took a ride on the Heartland Highway and then went on First Date. Jessica Kierson was on Are You Garbage? And Tim Dillon stopped by We Might Be Drunk.
There's something special about Florida for comedy,
I love Florida.
though. It's
amazing.
I think I'm going to shoot my next special in Tampa just because they don't groan at anything.
No.
It's a good comedy.
You
city.
could take
Great
someone
town.
from Tampa on the stage and kill them in front of the audience, and the audience would enjoy it.
They would love it.
They would not care. But then you're like, I love Tampa, and then it's like great. But then you're eating dinner in a restaurant called like Krabby Bill's, and it looks like a pirate ship, and you're going, could I do? Am I gonna live?
This is the best they have.
David Spade visited this past weekend with Theo Vaughn. Naeem Ali and Drew Montana were both on the Legion of Skanks. Mike Rainey went on Zach Amico's Morning Zoo. Crack Amico was on Durag and the Deer Tag. You Know What Dude featured Rosebud Baker and Pat Birchster. Michael Peppard stopped by Camp Gagnon. Sagday DePod had on Ben DeMarco. Logic did stuff with Howie Mandel. Fat and Pat Perez hit the links with Andrew Santino on No Bad Lies. The Fold released episode 3 featuring Brian Simpson and Frank Castillo. Michael Costa made it weird. Craig Shoemaker stopped by The Honeydew. Steph Tolov was on Being Ian with Jordan. Ike Barnaholtz broke bread with Tom Papa. And we interviewed Michelle Wolf right here on Joke World. Who are 3 comedians that you would think would be a great host of the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
Let's see. I think Bill Burr would be great.
Yeah.
Well, I think Michael Che, if he actually said what he wanted to say. I mean, obviously Dave Chappelle would be amazing.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Dave Chappelle would also be like a great press secretary, like he would be like.
Yeah. As far as new stand-up comedy specials go, there aren't a ton out right now, but Tim Dillon, I'm Your Mother is still out on Netflix. Brett Goldstein, The Second Best Night of Your Life is out on Max. And out on YouTube are Chad Daniels for Reels and Big J. Okerson They. There's also a few stand-up specials in the works right now that will be coming out soon. That list starts on May 6th with David Spade Dandelion coming out on Prime Video. 10 days later on May 16th, Mateo Lane, the Al Dente special comes out on Hulu. On May 21st, Joe List Small Ball comes out in theaters all around the country. May 24th, Gerard Carmichael, Don't Be Gay comes out on Max. And on May 26th, Mike Birbiglia, The Good Life will come out on Netflix. And not technically specials, but Chrissy D uploaded a 46-minute YouTube video titled What a Real Night in Comedy Looks Like, featuring Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson himself also put up a new 54 minutes of stand-up on his own channel. And there's new episodes of Roast Battle and Stand Up on the Spot out this week. And Ryan Long had a new onstage reaction to the women going to space. And last but not least, the best of the month for April 2025 is out right now. It will probably be on the end screen right after this, but if not, just click over to our channel's homepage and you can find it, or search Best of April and hopefully it comes up. It shouldn't be hard to find if you're subscribed at least. And by the way, thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed or interacted with these videos at all. Your support has allowed us to do some really cool shit, like interview Dr. Phil while he's in full costume as the comedian Adam Ray, sitting in a huge theater. And I just want to say I really appreciate every single one of you guys. As always, if you're interested in spreading our seed with some free Joke World stickers, check the description in the link below. I think I said those in reverse order. Check the link in the description below. You can fill out that form. We'll send you these in the mail within a few weeks. They should usually get there. If you filled out the form and they haven't gotten there yet, shoot me a message on Instagram. We'll get those over to you right away-ish.
We've got a lot going on. Be good to yourself. Lego my ego. Stop, drop, and roll. And if you find yourself confused and alone in the shower, shave your head, your back, your pussy, and your car. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching Joke World on youtube.com/Joke Joke World. Okay, we'll edit this out. Yeah, you fucked it up. You fucked it up.
That's amazing. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
brother.
At Joke World. That's it. At Joke World.
And the world is WRLD.
That's a great YouTube channel, Joke World. Check it out.